He's ready to go on the Fan, New York Sports Radio. Mike's on, Mike's on. He'll get you the sports any way that he can. It's Mike Francesa on the Fan. Sports Radio 66 and 101.9 FM, WFAN.
From the studios of WFAN, this is Mike's on, Francesa on the Fan on this rainy Tuesday, the 22nd day of the month of May. Giant coach Pat Shermer will join us. So I have yet to on the air. I have corresponded with him privately, but I have not talked to him on the air. I will do that today. And also, we talked about it yesterday, and now it is a reality. Lou Lamoriello, the ageless one at 75, will be joining the Islanders, so this should be a happy day for Islander fans as the legendary Lou Lamoriello will come back to town and will take his place with the Islanders. He will join us later on today, and we may have a couple of other surprises throughout the day because I didn't realize this. Mons told me this today. He said to me, he texted me earlier in the day and said, this is the 20th anniversary of the day the Mets got Mike Piazza. And I remember that very well. It obviously was it became part of the lore and the folklore of Mike and the Mad Dog because we definitely did have a role in this whole thing. I mean, I know some people want to revise it and stuff, which means nothing. But I can tell you, honestly, what happened that day. I mean, I remember it well. It really started a couple of days before. We got a call from Piazza's agent who said that Piazza was, was moving and wanted to finish up destination, into Miami, was going to finish up in Chicago, but that he really wanted to be a Met. And we thought about it, and said, wow, this makes plenty of sense. And I remember driving by Shea Stadium on a twilight doubleheader they were playing that week, and it was empty. I could see in from the highway past the outfield when you're going on the Whitestone Expressway. You could see in. Now that you can't really see in, but in those days you could see in to the stadium, and you could see all the empty seats. And I remember saying, boy, that place is a ghost town. They need something. And I remember making a big deal about it. And the Mets came on with us and said, Steve Phillips came on with us and said, there's no way we are getting, Mike Piazza. It's not happening. And the day it wound up happening, that morning, the agent told us that Mike was going to the Cubs. And all of a sudden, lo and behold, boom, a couple minutes later, and I think it was a Friday. I could be wrong, and it was Thursday, but it was I think it was a Friday morning when it finally happened. And all of a sudden, here was Piazza. And what we were told was, and that we were told by somebody in the room was that Nelson Doubleday said that he had heard Dog and I on the radio talking about it, and he thought it was a really good idea. And that he said, hey, as the kind of, at the time, senior partner, we should do this. And that's how it came to pass. So they still had to go out and make the deal, which they did. And it really breathed an incredible amount of life into the Met franchise. There's two things you remember so much about the Mets then. One was the trade for Piazza. And how, I think if I remember the number right, they were drawing like 15,000 a game. And then after he came, they drew like 31,000 a game the rest of the season. So he made an incredible impact on the franchise in terms of fan base. He gave the franchise enormous credibility the day he came. He, was such a big player, and personality at the time, and became such a tremendous big game player, big event, big inning, big home run guy in big spots. I mean, you think of how many big home runs Piazza had. There's just so many. So many. I mean, the one you remember the best, of course, is the Carsey homer on the game back after 9/11. We all remember that one. And who could ever forget that? But the point is there's just so many big, dramatic home runs he hit. He wore out the Yankees, especially Clemens in the Yankee series. Every time he played them, he just wore them out every time they played. And he had an enormous impact. The other day that I remember so well was being at Yankee Stadium on a Sunday, and it was a Sunday night game. And that day, I had either been playing golf or at the beach. I don't know what I was doing, but then I went to the game that night. And when I got to the game, on the way there, I heard that they had fired all the coaches. And I remember I was sitting in the seats with some people, but I actually went down and came out on the field to go talk to Bobby Valentine, ask him what was going on. And that's when they moved all the coaches out. And the Mets took off from that date when they moved the coaches out with Bobby and ran off. And I think that was 99 or 2000 with the 40 and 15 run after the coaches were out. You have to go back and look. I think it was 99 or 2000. I can't remember which year it was. But I remember those are the two dates I remember for the Mets at that time. The Piazza Day and then the day they fired the three coaches on the before the Sunday game of the Yankee Mets series at Yankee Stadium, and it was a Sunday night game, and the Mets killed them in that Sunday night. Piazza had a huge game, and that day stuck in my head. And the Mets went on a huge tear, like 40 and 15 after that, to make a big run that year. And, we know how they had good teams at that time, whether they got beat in the playoffs or lost to the Yankees in the World Series or whatever. It was a very interesting time. So it's hard to sit here and realize that 20 years have passed since the day Piazza came to the team, because that was one of the real eventful sports days in the history of the fan, was the day he came. And ironically, as you look back 20 years ago today, May 22nd, 1998 is when it happened. And it's a fast 20 years. It really is. As we said, Pat Sherman today, Lou Lamoriello today, maybe a couple of things we're working on. Mets with a win last night against the Marlins. A good time to play the Marlins. Anytime's a good time to play the Marlins before the Mets will go on a tough trek. 4 games in Milwaukee starting Thursday night. Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon before they go to Atlanta. And I think on Monday, aren't the Mets playing a day night on Monday? Aren't they playing a doubleheader in Atlanta on Monday? Aren't they? I think they are. I'm pretty sure they're playing a day night on Memorial Day. I believe they are. You guys can check on that. I thought it was the date they were making up a game. It is true, right? They're playing it. So that's a tough little stretch there. Milwaukee 4 and then a dub. So is that a 4-game series then in Atlanta? Is that what it is? Yeah. So they got 8 games on that trip, including 2 days, a day-night doubleheader on Monday, while the Yankees will be home against the Angels and the Astros after an off day Thursday. You got a couple of games in Texas. First, Yankees flexing their muscles in a big way. And let's be honest, some guys are as good as advertised. I've never heard anybody in all the time they talked about him, from the moments talked about getting him in a trade, from getting him in a trade to the minor leagues, never heard anybody say anything except that Torres was going to be a big-time player. Not one time did I ever hear anybody ever, not a scout, not a executive, nobody ever say, this guy's not what he's supposed to be. He's not this. No one has said that. Everyone always was glowing about this guy, and he has been as good as advertised. You could talk about all these very good young players around right now. You could talk about what Guerrero Jr. is doing in the minors, and I don't know how you keep him there if you listen to what he's doing down there. Every day it seems like he's 4 for 4 with another home run. So I don't know how they're going to keep him there, even though he's only 19. Or you have the youngsters, with the Braves, or some of the other youngsters you see, coming up at these precocious ages. But there aren't any that are playing any better than Torres is. And Torres is just so smooth. I was comparing him to Cano, who came up in 2005 and never looked back. I think Cano's a little stronger, I think especially in terms of his hands. But I think that Torres is even a smoother, more complete player right now, and clearly even a little cooler than Cano was. Cano never looked back. Right from the start, never looked back. And this kid won't either. I think he's going to be here for a very long time. By sometime next year at the latest, maybe this year, if they're not afraid of pressure with this kid, I wouldn't even worry about it. He'll find his niche at the top of the lineup. Whether he's the leadoff hitter or he winds up batting second or wherever he winds up batting, I could see him batting right in front of Judge, whether it's 1-2 or 2-3. Who knows? I could see that. very, very soon. If they want, maybe they don't want to put the pressure on this year. Who knows? But that's clearly in his future, as is, without a question mark, stardom. I mean, there's nothing he can't do, and do it in a polished, effortless, confident style. He's just special. You can just see it. Some guys are just special. He's special. He's that kind of guy. I mean, everybody was right. So once in a while they are about a player, but everybody was absolutely right about him. I mean, he is that good. And the Yankees, you're going to see this all year. There are going to be days where they don't hit against good pitching. But when you get these games where they are up 5-2, 6-4, with 2 or 3 innings to go, and the other team goes to the guys who mop up. When you bring mop-up pitches in to face these Yankees, they will expand the score almost every time. It's almost unfair when they get into the bad part of somebody's bullpen, because that's why you'll see them add on so many runs and add on so many home runs. Because they're facing, that kind of pitcher. When you're down 3 or 4 runs in a game or 2 or 3 runs in a game, and you're not trying to keep, you're just trying to get some outs and not trying to use the good part of your pen, whatever level team you are, you bring those kind of guys in to face this lineup, and they're going to hit home runs off them. And they're going to hit extra base hits like they did last night, and there are going to be plenty of games, and there already have been, there will be more, where they will turn 5 into 10 in the final 3 innings, and they will turn 4 into 8 and 6 into 12, and they will do that all season long because they will feast on anything except really superior pitching. That's how tough and long and powerful that lineup is. So as we said, Pat Sherman, the Giants, looking forward to that. The Giants this year, I know they face a tough schedule. I know they face a tough division. But there's a great reason for optimism, and one of the biggest reasons is because right now, you look at this new coach and his offensive coordinator, Mike Shula. Most teams have one guy who can create a mismatch. Giants have 3. When you have 3 guys that can create a mismatch in the same offense, we know Beckham, who has been on his best behavior this year. I got to give him that. When you have Beckham, when you have Barkley, and when you have, who's tomorrow? Oh, Barkley's on the show tomorrow? Okay, so Barkley's on. Looking forward to talk to him. He's on the show tomorrow. Barkley. Sherman today, Barkley tomorrow. When you have Beckham, when you have Barkley, when you have Ingram, they can create mismatches anywhere on the field in the passing game. When you have 3 of those guys, that's the kind of toys that coaches have fun with. That's the kind of toys that quarterbacks have fun with. And those are the weapons the Giants are going to put on the field this year behind a better offensive line and give their quarterback a chance to have a lot of fun and create a lot of havoc in opposing secondaries. Because Barkley, listen, he can score anytime he touches the ball. We know he's that kind of player. He's going to be dramatic running with the ball, but I think he's going to be even more lethal in the passing game. And then Ingram, a tight end who can create mismatches, who can get down the field, who can go, throw him the deep seam, can throw the ball down the field to him. And then, of course, we all know what Beckham can do, especially when he's on his game. They have a chance to have a very, very explosive and exciting offense. And when was the last time we said that? So a lot to get to today on this Tuesday program. We'll get it all rolling right after this.